and welcome to Check Your Connection, podcast number 13.
Whoa.
And our guests today are David from the council, our chair, and Lisa, our quality and diversity, inclusion, whatever it is. Lisa?
Hello, everybody. I am Lisa Govier, and as Chelsea very succinctly put it, I am the head of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion for Dimensions Group.
Hello, my name is David, and I am Dimensions Council Chair. And hello to everybody.
So we are talking about diversity within Dimensions, and we are linking it into No Time to Hate campaign, which we strongly don't like hate crime. If you are experiencing any hate crime, go and bug Dr. Mark Brooks. Send your stories to Mark Brooks about your experience with hate crime if you have learning disabilities or autism. And I just want to say, as we're going through this, I really know what I want to talk about in the download section, which you all should know if you have been a regular what it will be. Stay tuned. We are looking into diversity because we looked through at the Dimensions Council to see how representative we were, and found out there were quite a lot of differences and some weren't as represented to some of them.
When we had the 2-day face-to-face meeting, when Amy was showing us the PowerPoint, there were some big surprises, and it was very fascinating to know that there was 98% of white people joining the council, but only 3% of Black, Asian, ethnic minority people, which was quite interesting. I was actually quite surprised about that. Very, very surprised.
So even though our council looks white, you are the only one that's representing the few percent.
That's very true. That is actually very true. Yeah.
So we can't say, oh, the whole council is white, we need representatives of the people we support, and you're like, no, I'm just the 3%, don't worry.
My manifesto pledge was that we need to get more people to join Dimension Council from, I think, all backgrounds, from Black, brown, white backgrounds, LGBT backgrounds, so that we have a bit more of a more positive representation, so that it makes the council is balanced, make it fairer.
Yeah,
I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I find with this sexuality that I can relate to some of it, but I don't feel comfortable sort of saying what I think I am and stuff like that. So of course there might be people that might not want to say stuff.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right, Chelsea, and I think it's recognizing that information that we're asking for is actually really private. We got the anonymized data, which is really, really important, because we do need to understand as an organization that we are able to provide support to people from all backgrounds, and that's all of the demographics. So that's about your gender, your age, your disability, your sexual orientation, your faith, your ethnic background, all of that. But you're absolutely right that some people will be worried about sharing that. They will be worried as speaking out and identifying as those people.
Like my mum said, who works in Discovery, she said, some people might not want to have that label stuck to them, and it might, of course, change over time.
Yeah,
especially
totally,
with
totally.
religion or sexuality and stuff, and gender identity.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right, David. Your point about, and I spoke quite a while ago about this actually. The council are there to be representative of a representation of the people that we provide support to in Dimensions Group, and therefore that group needs to have a reflective voice. And so it is important that we look at that from all of those perspectives, and either ensure that the council is diversely representative, which is obviously the first part, but also that the council are aware of the importance of it, and being able to be open to connect with people and encourage people to open up about things. So having that channel of communication, that they feel that they can raise things even if there aren't people who look like them or who have those shared experiences, because it's really, really important to share that information, and for us to understand those differences. And that's why we ask, Dimensions ask, people we support for that information. So on the one hand, there's a bit about your team and people who are supporting you directly knowing that, so they can do that tailored support. But as Dimensions, we also need that information so we can help ensure that we are that people have the skills, the knowledge, the information, providing the right support, and treating people fairly and respectfully.
Yeah.
So looking at the statistics, we don't have many people, not a lot of people have answered stuff, some of the questionnaires, and that might be because they don't use words to communicate or might not understand how to answer the questions. Lisa.
Why we are asking for that information. I think that's that's quite a big part, that people see that it's quite private, like we've just said. I think we've just said that 2,043 people haven't answered the sexual orientation question, and some people will think, well, why do you need to know? But as I explained earlier, it's not necessarily about individuals, because somebody might tell their direct people that are supporting them that information, and they might not feel that it's necessary. But for us who are supporting a lot of people, and providing support and resources, it really helps us to be able to understand what our colleagues need to know, what awareness they need to know, things they might need to look out for, things where people might be vulnerable as well, educating our colleagues. So if somebody with a learning disability wants to be in a gay relationship and meet somebody of the same sex, for example, I know that we've had situations where colleagues have found that quite tricky, in terms of choices and them being safe and things. So again, we only have a finite amount of resources and opportunities to kind of think, right, okay, we need to tell our colleagues about this. So if we know that actually this is the picture, this is how things are for the people we support, then we can invest in resources for that. So we can signpost people, we can put information out there. Without that, we are second guessing, we are just taking it,
and there's
thinking,
not enough married people. We don't have any data really on married people.
No.
Or civil partnerships as well now. What is it? Civil partnerships now can be for straight couples and gay couples.
Yeah.
Same as married.
So same as marriage. Yeah. And again, Chelsea, that I think that's a reflection of how society has perceived people with learning disabilities, and the assumption that maybe people aren't able to make those choices or have that choice. And actually, again, we should be, the fact that we know that there's probably lots and lots of people we support who would love to be in a marriage or civil partnership.
There are resources out there so people know. And what about if you were non-binary or trans and you wanted to go into a relationship, and you were, I guess one of the barriers of that might be you don't know how people might react to your sex and your other things. I'm talking about the private parts of how do they navigate that, and the gender and the stuff like that. David, do you agree with me about trying to make sure the council is representative and does communicate to those minorities that aren't in the council?
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. And also, I'm adopted myself. And I'm a gay man, and I would like to find a gay man and have a gay relationship, and who knows, one day get engaged and one day get married. That's my ambition,
and then adopt another generation.
That's my ambition in life. That's my
so lovely to hear, David.
That'd be amazing.
That is so lovely to hear. And so brave as well, I think, courageous to kind of share that. And I think people really need to hear that. I think that people, people do really need to hear that, because you will really inspire other people to then think, oh, he's David just said that, and and I want that, so I'm going to say it. In a group of people, you all have naturally, we all have similar experiences, similar thoughts, similar views. By having that mix of people in the group, it naturally gives you different perspectives and experiences, and enables people to then develop their own learning and understanding, as well as sharing that as well. You take something away from that. So I think it's it's a winner all round. Yes, Chelsea.
I think I got a new statistic you should look into.
Okay.
You should look into the statistic of people that were adopted or fostered. See if you can get any info on that.
Yeah.
It's very, very private. It's very private, but
Well, given you've both just shared that, did you know that about each other?
I didn't.
Wow. So there you go. See, you've just learned something lovely between the two of you. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Diversity is really important in Dimensions and everywhere. And I also think it's very important that we are different, and that's a good thing. And that society needs to understand that we are human being people with feelings. We are people at the end of the day, and we're human beings.
We are doing the No Time for Hate Crime, and Dimensions has surveyed 2,000 people, and some of it I've heard is quite sad, and we found that 1 in 5 people have been nasty or avoided someone because of their disability. And so we want people to comment with a photo of them pointing to a watch or a clock to say no time for hate crime. One personal story is I probably followed other people in school over someone, and I was like, hang on a minute, why are we taking the mick out of them and stuff? 1 in 4 people regret their actions.
That's really interesting, isn't it? That mentality of following on a behaviour, and people just need to stop and think, and also think about themselves, and if that was happening to me, how would I feel? I think people don't just stop and think, and are far too quick to judge because somebody might look different or sound different to who we are. Again, it's that thing about tolerance and acceptance and respect.
No. Another thing is to get on our socials at Dimensions UK and just spread it like wildfires. Well, not actual literal wildfires, but just spread it. And now is the download section, which you should know by now. It's the one where we all talk about our interests, our hobbies, what we're reading, what we're watching. What if we're doing both? Knitting, and so on.
I'm impressed with your knitting, Chelsea. I can't knit for toffee. I don't know if that is a saying, but I can't knit anyway.
Okay.
I need some lessons from you. I might be coming down the hill and getting some advice from you.
No. I don't know how to follow a pattern.
I have been watching a lot of different TV programs, and I've been watching on Netflix. It's called My Vampire. It's a Netflix drama series about this young little lady who's half human and she's half vampire and she has superpowers. It's on Netflix. It's really, really good. I recommend that's a must watch. It's really good. And I've also been watching Strictly Come Dancing last Saturday night. I love that competition. I think one day I would like to go on there because I think I could do quite well.
Lisa, what about you?
What have I been watching? Oh, I'm just trying to think actually. What?
No, it can be anything. What have you been doing?
Okay, so I've been trying to watch less television and read more because I watch television. Take my iPad to bed, and I haven't been sleeping very well. And everybody says about the blue light, and I don't know whether it is the blue light or not because I have that switched down low. But a friend bought me a book at Christmas called Unorthodox, which is basically a memoir of a woman who is a Hasidic Jew. And I am fascinated by people and fascinated obviously around diversity in different cultures and everything. And I've absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I've seen something like that on Netflix.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. It says on my book that it's a Netflix series. I'd not heard of it, and I must admit it sat in my basket. I have a basket of books by my bed, and I'd run out and I just thought I'll try it, and I've absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And the other thing that I've been doing is planting bulbs for spring, which I'm usually really, really late at doing. And this year I thought, no, I really want to do it. So I have shoved some bulbs into my garden and hope that they grow. What about you? What have you been doing, Chelsea?
Okay, so the thing I wanted to say was, why is there a ladybird just there? There's a little ladybird. So I have been reading a book called Ella Manickle, and she's an autistic author by Nights Off, which is the publisher, and the book is about an autistic character, not one, not two, but mentions three characters. So it actually mentions someone being sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and it's also a story about witches.
Wait, what's it called, Chelsea?
A Kind of Spark.
Okay. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and basically this girl finds out about the witch trials in Scotland and tries to get a plaque for them. And then I read it all within 24 hours, something like that, around about a day. And the best bit is there's a series on CBBC, which is about 10 episodes, which has autistic actors playing autistic characters one of them is playing a neurotypical, which is the sister. So yeah, so Addie is autistic, and Edie, her older sister, is autistic, and the other sister is neurotypical. And yeah, it's 10 episodes, and yeah, so I found that a bit emotional. And apparently there's going to be another series, I think. I'm not sure. And she's also have another one in the works. But I think
Sounds
she's also,
amazing.
yeah.
That's going to
And
be
also-
my program to watch now, Chelsea. Because whilst you were talking, I just quickly looked her up, and it said that it was it's on iPlayer, BBC iPlayer. So yeah, I'm going to watch that. I think I'd really enjoy that. Thank
As some of you may know, I like autism representation, and I keep looking into it. But that's what I watched and did. And it's just like the thought of children watching that now is kind of good to see that. And we are just doing this podcast, and it's like a bit emotional for that. And I tried not to cry when I read my sister and I are autistic in this book, and I'm like, oh.
So it's really funny, actually, that you and David are both looking at very scary things in October, witches and vampires. Is that coincidence, or was that planned, Chelsea?
Coincidence.
Well, very timely. You need to get your pumpkins out and your broomstick.
So if you want to listen more to us or ask questions, maybe an odd witch or two, please contact us at dimensions-uk.org. I would like to say thank you to our guests for being here.
Goodbye. Bye.
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 Bye. David, stop looking pretty.
Sorry. Would you like me to go next?
Yes.